Next on NewsDepth. Watch out, Cupid, we've got the secret to writing the perfect Valentine. And meet the mechanics keeping Iowa's snowplows on the roads. We head to a spot that's been cut off from the rest of the country. Plus, Mary's got the scoop on Toledo's swampy past. NewsDepth is now. Mother Nature sure served up a frosty Valentine. Hello everybody, I'm Margaret Cavalier, filling in for Rick Jackson. Thanks for joining us. If you love snow, you've been in luck recently. The nation experienced its first nor'easter of the year last week, and it was a doozy. A nor'easter is a storm that forms along the east coast, as warm air from above the Atlantic Ocean clashes with Arctic cold from the north and the west. They mainly affect the northeastern part of the United States. Reporter John Lawrence has a story on the storm.
The first nor'easter of 2021 is bringing boatloads of snow to states from the mid-Atlantic to the northeast.
Let me say this unequivocally, this is a big one.
It's a big one indeed. Forecasters say New York City could see up to 2 feet of snow.
It's a little challenging. The gentleman had to hold me because I was like I was lifting off the ground.
Nearly 65 million people in 12 states are under a winter watch or warning this week. A state of emergency was declared ahead of the storm in New Jersey.
You must be out. Please, God, be careful. But if you don't need to be out, do not go out.
But some still have to trudge out in the snow to get to work.
And it's crazy out here. Everyone can't stay at home. I wish I could stay at home.
But others are bundling up and making the most of the blustery conditions.
We love it. We're from upstate New York, so this is like normal for us. I feel like we love a snowstorm.
Thanks, John. Well, totals are in from the nor'easter snowfall. Meteorologists measured 17 inches of the white stuff in New York City's Central Park, making it one of their biggest storms ever. The National Weather Service even reported some areas of Pennsylvania received close to 3 feet of snow. And we got some of it here in Ohio, too. It takes a lot of folks to clean up after a big snowstorm. In this next story, we hear about the mechanics who keep some of Iowa's plows ready to go. An automobile mechanic is someone who figures out what is wrong with a vehicle and fixes it. Auto mechanics need to be good at problem solving and working with their hands. They usually learn on the job or earn a certificate through a trade school or college. In Ohio, it is expected that there will be more than 2,600 openings for mechanics each year, so it's considered an in-demand career. Diego Hernandez takes us to the Iowa garage where mechanics prep their plows.
Usually our mechanics will get in, get something taken care of right away.
Snowplows need constant and consistent maintenance.
If we don't, we'll be out in the middle of nowhere where it breaks, and then we have to bring a service truck or a tow truck out and work out in the field.
Service checks as well as washing away leftover salt in the truck beds is essential. All that salt can eat away at the metal.
End up having a lot more costly problems and issues with the vehicles if we don't. So we try to maintain them and keep them as long as we can.
Replacing a blade on a plow can cost more than $1,000. This year, preserving the plows is more important than ever. The pandemic causing delays or holds on vital pieces of equipment.
We order anything that we can ahead of time, so we are prepared.
Thanks, Diego. But being outside in the snow isn't all work. Outdoor activities like sledding and skiing are a great way to get your exercise in during the winter. Not to mention they're just plain fun. Getting outside in snowy conditions isn't easy if you use a wheelchair, though. That's where the Challenged Athletes Foundation steps in. They provide folks with disabilities or special needs adaptive equipment so they too can play outside. Adaptive means able to change or fit a special requirement. But adaptive equipment can often be expensive. So when the foundation gifted an Idaho boy an off-road wheelchair, his family was super excited. They're hoping it will allow their son to enjoy some fun in the snow. Steve Dent has the story.
It's an adaptive family.
For the Wallace family,
Teddy! 3 cheers for Teddy!
Saturday marked a special day as their son Teddy received a new off-road wheelchair.
It's just been such a blessing. I was definitely crying.
Teddy Wallace has arthrogryposis, a condition that makes it difficult for him to use his arms and legs.
And has had 9 surgeries in his short 3.5 years of life. He has physical therapy every week and occupational therapy and has been through a lot.
But the Wallace family received a grant through the Challenged Athletes Foundation. And they were surprised with a Grit wheelchair for Teddy.
So Grit is in the market for all off-road wheelchairs, but always for adults. And so when we brought the idea to them to really say our kids want to do it too, they were a willing partner in saying, let's brainstorm this together and do it the right way.
So for the last 8 months, Grit and the Challenged Athletes Foundation worked to design a wheelchair for a child. And Teddy got the first one ever built.
We're really trying to push the envelope on innovation and saying, how can we get our kids out there faster? So that they can fall in love with the outdoors just as quickly as their peers. Today was where we knocked down one of those walls.
Thanks, Steve. What a cool organization. What's that? Newscat. She must have something good. Why don't we skip ahead to see what she's pawed up for this week's petting zoo. Boy, she must be excited about this one. She's already on the move. Check out those speedy paws. Oh, wow, adaptive equipment for animals? I see why you wanted to share your story now. Good find, Newscat. To learn more about the wheelchair helping this duck get going, click the Petting Zoo button on our website. Thank you, Newscat. Okay, now where were we with the news? Oh yeah, did you know that there's a part of the United States that you can only get to by driving through Canada? It's Minnesota's northwest angle. Take a look at the map here. You can see that the only way to drive there is by crossing through Canada. Or you could travel there by boat across the Lake of the Woods, when it's not frozen over like it is this winter. The northwest angle is home to about 120 people. And when Canada closed their border due to the pandemic, these folks were essentially trapped on the angle. Boyd Hubert takes us there to see how the residents have been handling it. Boyd?
40 miles off in the distance, Karen and Paul Colson cut off from their own country. The Colsons live on the northwest angle. All good till last March when Canada and COVID closed the border.
Very depressing. There was nobody.
Nobody able to reach the Colsons Resort, one of a dozen that provide jobs for the 100 or so people who live on the angle. Livelihood severed for 10 months.
We had 0 people at our place.
Yeah.
0.
The angle needed something bold. Then someone floated this.
I thought it was kind of crazy.
Cale Alsleben is one of the plow drivers now keeping open a 22-mile ice road across frozen Lake of the Woods. A lifeline.
You got to figure some way to get customers up here.
And it's working. 2 weeks since the opening, the Northwest Angle Ice Road has returned life to the northernmost tip of the lower 48.
Drive your 25 mile an hour and take your time and away you go.
A highway on 20 inches of ice, complete with bridges over ridges.
Yeah, my wife was very skeptical about me coming out here.
And when you do see the plow trucks going, it makes you feel a little more comfortable.
Ice fishers and property owners.
It's worth this $500 pass.
$500 for the season, or $145 per round trip, to cover costs of constant maintenance.
We have a cabin up here, and it's the only way we can get here right now.
The ice will only prop them up till spring.
We don't have anything else.
But the Colsons
right?
will take it.
Everybody will be able to hang on a little bit longer.
Thanks, Boyd. Now, maybe you're wondering how the United States wound up with the Northwest Angle instead of Canada. The answer takes us all the way back to the country's beginning. See, the founders used an inaccurate map when they drew up our country's borders in the 1783 Treaty of Paris. That's the same agreement that ended the Revolutionary War. They thought the Lake of the Woods was oval-shaped, but it's not. And that resulted in the U.S. getting the extra sliver of land for Minnesota. And that reminds me of Ohio's own unique story about when our border was drawn up with Michigan. Mary's got the details in this week's Know Ohio. Take a look.
Did you know that one of the largest cities in Ohio almost wasn't in Ohio? I'm talking about Toledo. It was nearly a part of Michigan. The two states ended up in a pretty heated battle over it too. But before we get to that, let's rewind back to the city's early days. A big chunk of the land in northwest Ohio used to be occupied by the Great Black Swamp. The mushy land was not an easy place to live. European settlers even nicknamed the area where Toledo is Frogtown. In 1824, Ohio's leaders decided to build a canal between the city of Cincinnati and Lake Erie. As the Miami-Erie Canal was being planned, plenty of cities in northwest Ohio wanted the waterway to end at their location. The towns of Port Lawrence and Vistula decided to combine into one town in order to give themselves better odds at winning the spot. They renamed themselves Toledo. It turns out it must have worked because Toledo did end up as one of the three endpoints to the canal. But while the canal was under construction, Michigan started the process of becoming a state. While drawing up their border between Ohio in 1835, the area of Toledo came into question, resulting in the Toledo War. Both states claimed that a 468 square mile region on Ohio's northwest border should belong to them. The area was known as the Toledo Strip and included where the Maumee River ran into Lake Erie. Michigan politician Stephen T. Mason, who was nicknamed the Boy Governor, said the land was definitely theirs. But then so did Ohio Governor Robert Lucas. The leaders of Toledo saw the canal as their way to success and urged Ohio to keep them in the state. Things got pretty heated with both sides raising militias, and President Andrew Jackson even had to remove Mason from his job to keep the states from starting a civil war. Eventually, both sides did come to an agreement. Ohio would get the strip and Michigan came out ahead with the Upper Peninsula. Thus, Toledo was officially incorporated in Ohio in 1837. Finally, with the opening of the Miami-Erie Canal in 1845, Toledo was able to make a bit of headway business-wise. Yet the Great Black Swamp still loomed over the city. The damp land caused outbreaks of deadly illnesses, including cholera, malaria, and typhoid fever. And Toledo earned a new nickname, Graveyard of the Midwest. Not a pleasant slogan. By 1850, the state decided that they needed to get rid of the swamp and began an effort to drain it into Lake Erie. As trains replaced canals as the preferred trade transportation, Toledo continued to move forward. By the late 1880s, the city was the second only to Chicago in the number of railroads in town. With this came manufacturing, specifically glass, with the establishment of the Libby Glass Company in town. Toledo's glass companies led the way in patenting new technology. A patent is a license granted to a person or company to keep others from making or using their invention. While Toledo certainly made a lot of glass in the city, the patents meant that any time glassmakers in another city used ideas patented in Ohio, Toledo makers got a profit. Finally, Toledo got a good nickname, the Glass City. Beyond glass, the city was also known for automobile manufacturing. Willys Overland was one of the biggest car makers here. For a while, they made more cars than any other company besides Ford. As the Great Depression rolled around, cities like Toledo that relied on manufacturing jobs struggled to get by. They did receive a boost with wartime manufacturing for World War II. Willys even made 350,000 Jeeps for World War II. After the conflict ended, though, times were again difficult for manufacturing hubs like Toledo. Folks moved to suburbs and factories shuttered. Still, the Glass City shines on. It remains home to the Libby Company and plenty of auto manufacturers, and of course, it's a lot less swampy.
Thanks, Mary. How about we get to this week's poll? So far in the show, we've talked a lot about winter activities. So we want to know which one is your favorite. Head to our online poll to choose from sledding, skiing or snowboarding, making snowmen, or shoveling the driveway. And how about a look at the results from last week's poll? We told you that the $20 banknote will soon feature abolitionist Harriet Tubman instead of President Andrew Jackson, and asked which banknote you would change next. 53% of you said you would change the $50 note with President Ulysses S. Grant next. Did you know he was from Ohio? Well, let's take a look at who you would like to see on a banknote instead by opening up our inbox. Mia from Grant Elementary in Lakewood wrote, "I want Ruby Bridges to be on the $50 bill because when she was very little, she went to an all-white school. When she was walking to school on her first day, people were yelling and had said mean words, but she stayed calm and just walked forward. I could never do that. I'd be way too scared. She was brave and still is, and I love and respect that. I really do, because not only is she a female, but she's also Black. So that's why I think that Ruby Bridges should be on the $50 bill." Here's one from Ariana at Gordon DeWitt Elementary School in Cuyahoga Falls. "I would choose Jackie Robinson because he is the first African American to play in the Major Baseball League. He is also really inspiring to me because baseball is really one of the things that is important in my life. I have also played baseball since I was 5, so baseball has been a staple in my life for a long time now. And I don't want anyone to forget how important Jackie Robinson was and what history he made. So that is who I would choose to go on a banknote." Now check out this drawing that Eliana from Avon Heritage in Avon shared with us. She wrote, "I think that Barack Obama should be on a banknote. One reason that I think that he should be able to get on a banknote is that he was the first African American to become president. I also think that every president should be able to have the honor of being on a banknote, but I think that Barack Obama deserves to be on one of the banknotes. That is why I think that Barack Obama should be on a banknote." Now Isaiah from William Bruce Elementary in Eaton wrote, "If I had to choose someone to go on a banknote, I would choose my dad because he is always there for me. Also, my dad pushes me when I feel like stopping. He teaches me how to do something right when I do something wrong. The next reason is because he passes a football with me. He tries so hard to do what is right for me, and he is the best dad in the world. This is who I would put on a banknote." Isaiah, that is so sweet. And finally, Caitlin from Richardson Elementary in Cuyahoga Falls wrote, "If I could choose one person to go on a banknote, I would choose Sojourner Truth. I would choose Sojourner Truth to be on the $10 bill instead of Alexander Hamilton. I want Sojourner Truth to be on the $10 bill because there is more to her story than war, and I think she had a very unfair life and that she deserved more. Can you even imagine being sold as a slave for $100? I also think that because she was a very brave woman, and she even sued a white man and won, it is amazing how much courage and confidence she had to do that. That is why I think that Sojourner Truth should be on the $10 bill." Excellent choices, everyone. Hey, Caitlin, we have a whole Know Ohio about Sojourner Truth, and I'll leave a link to it beneath this episode online. Now for this week's writing question, we want you to get a little creative and write a Valentine to something we've been talking a lot about this episode, snow. Your Valentine can rhyme or be fluffy or mushy, it's up to you. To give you a little inspiration, in this week's sketchbook, we're heading to the American Greetings headquarters in Cleveland to meet some professional Valentine designers and writers. Our own Carrie Wise has a story. Check it out.
It can be daunting to search for a card that conveys the message you want to send at Valentine's Day. But greeting card writers take on the challenge of writing on behalf of everyone.
When I see my own card and I'm watching someone else buy a card next to me, it really reminds me of what cards are doing. You know, like people are taking the time to pick out something really special for someone they care about. So for me, it's a really important reminder about what the task is.
At Valentine's Day, it's all about love. Of course, that's complicated.
Love comes in all different stages, right? You've just met, you've been together for a long time, you've broken up and gotten back together, you've broken up with this person and now you're in a relationship with this. It's like, oh, this is what love is, you know, so it's constantly redefining itself. So I think that's one of the challenges.
Card creation usually starts with the copy. American Greetings writers pull inspiration everywhere from pop culture to their own lives.
We don't just sit at our desk and try to write the most romantic-y, fluffy thing possible. Like, I think what's really important to a lot of the writers that I work with is that, like, it feels real. And, you know, that someone can feel proud to send this card because it speaks for them.
I find music very useful, so I usually have my earphones on most of the time when I'm just getting started.
The writers compile a variety of copy for editors to peruse, some of which makes its way to the artists.
We'll read the copy and then kind of I'll sketch out like thumbnails and ideas of what I might want the card to look like before I move on to the final design. And usually while I'm drawing the thumbnails, I'll think about what colors I might want to use, what types of finishings. Should it be really blingy? Do I want a lot of glitter? Do I want like ribbons and bows?
Designing for Valentine's Day is one of her favorite occasions.
I like that Valentine's Day can be more playful. You know, you can have a card that says, I like you more than pizza, and that's like really fun to design.
The challenge for all these veteran card creators is keeping things fresh.
Valentine's Day, you know, with design, people expect certain things. They expect hearts and red and roses. So I think that's the challenge in designing for love, is not reaching to those like same symbols over and over again.
And they try to craft messages you would actually say.
As greeting card writers, we are semi-sociologists, keeping our finger on the pulse of relationships. Maybe I'm sending a Valentine's Day card to my stepson or grandchild that's from a blended family situation.
Believe it or not, the writers behind the cards often don't see how their prose was used until they head to the store, or in some cases, receive the card.
I wrote a card, a great card for wife, okay? I'm saying that, I'm biased totally. And so I wrote it for wife, and then for Valentine's Day, I get this card, and I start reading it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wrote this card for you, and the card really talked about the relationship, and like how she makes me feel and all that. And I'm like, they took this card I wrote for wife and turned it into a husband card, and it worked.
And if you want to add a personal message to cards, these experts say make it your own.
In this day and age, people are becoming less and less apologetic about expressing their genuine feelings, and that's a wonderful thing if we can keep those feelings positive. So don't hold back. Put down in writing what it is that you really, really want to say.
Thanks, Carrie. The pandemic put a pause on some love stories. Plenty of couples opted to hold off on having a wedding ceremony until it's safer to gather in large groups. But that doesn't mean it's impossible to hold a safe wedding. A group of event planners in Rhode Island recently held a mock wedding to show what precautions can be taken to keep guests healthy during the pandemic. Lindsay DeLucia was in attendance. Lindsay?
Saying I do is still doable, even with COVID restrictions.
We can do safe events and that we can hopefully up the capacity.
After a wedding washout in 2020, these event planners are determined to get back on track in 2021.
You're gonna put it up your nostril and rotate 5 times.
People who showed up to the Ocean Cliff Hotel today in Newport were welcomed by Binax Now rapid tests. The event, a mock wedding, put on by the Rhode Island Coalition of Wedding and Event Professionals. They planned it all out from start to finish with a video crew funded by the state to capture it.
I think video is going to allow us to put together really a staple for our entire industry and the correct procedures.
A socially distanced ceremony, a seated cocktail hour, and about 25 vendors playing the part of guests and family members. Organizers of today's event say the instructional video they made will serve as a roadmap for weddings this year.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hopefully, as a vaccine is distributed across the nation, group gatherings like weddings and other events will be able to return to normal. In the meantime, plenty of us have been glued to our phones, whether to keep in touch with friends or to pass the time during the pandemic. But have you ever thought about how much time you spend looking at your phone or using social media? A senior at Lakota West High School in Westchester has been, and she's working on a plan to help her peers log off. In 9th grade, Sarah Abudakar was asked to write about her passion project. At that time, she was driven to learn about what makes people happy. While researching happiness, she discovered the growing amount of research that shows the negative effects of social media, especially among young people. I really started to become aware of how much time I spend on social media. I deleted all of my apps and started to journal. I noticed that my connections with the people in my life were stronger. The journey has been amazing, said Sarah. That's when Sarah found Log Off, a movement dedicated to rethinking social media by teens and for teens. The group addresses the impact of social media on the mental health of teenagers and helps parents support their kids. Sarah is putting what she learned into action. Currently, she is writing lessons for schools to teach students safe habits for social media use. The lessons cover a variety of topics, including social media addiction, cyberbullying, and social media's impact on mental and physical health. Her high school even plans to use them when she's done. My principal has been very supportive, and the school is behind me, Sarah explained. Sarah plans to offer support to teachers to use the lessons and hopes to be able to mentor teenagers on how to log off. It's about finding balance, shared Sarah's mother. This week's NewsDepth A+ award goes to Sarah Abudakar from Lakota West High School for helping her classmates log off. Keep up the great work. Now, before I log off, a reminder that we want to hear from you. And there are plenty of ways to stay in touch. No cell phones needed. You can write to us. We're at 1375 Euclid Avenue. That's Cleveland, Ohio. Zip code is 44115. You can email us at newsdepth@ideastream.org, or you can tweet us. Our handle is @NewsDepthOhio. Thanks for joining us. I'm Margaret Cavalier. We'll see you right back here next week.
NewsDepth is made possible by a grant from the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation.